everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of the Boerne Brew here on Boerne Radio, 103.9 FM and 1500 AM. And you can also listen to the Boerne Brew on the Boerne Star and Boerne Radio websites. I'm the host of today's show, and my name is Kerry Barboza, and I'm the sports editor of the Boerne Star. And anyone who follows high school sports in Texas knows that the UIL just realigned their districts for the next 2 years. And to talk about where the Chargers and the Greyhounds landed is Boerne ISD Athletic Director Stan Leech. Coach Leech, thank you for being on the show.
Hi, Kerry. Roland, good to see y'all.
Roland J. Ruiz is here. He's our studio engineer, and he keeps us on track and makes us sound good. So I'm glad he doesn't have to make us look good, because he'd have a lot of work ahead of him if he had to.
We're all good.
We have perfect faces for radio. Let's just say
I appreciate Roland being on the air for us. Our games at the stadium, he's gifted. He does a tremendous job.
Yep, he does Spurs PA, so he's in demand. He's a man who's won it around town.
Well, he's good, and he's quick, and he's got good data. He's good.
So we have you on, Coach Leech, every few months, talk about all things Boerne ISD athletics. The last time I think was in November, and the football was still in the process of playoffs. So let's talk about that. Just wrap up the football season. Both made it to Thanksgiving weekend, which for one high school is great, and you had two high schools do it. So Thanksgiving weekend, Boerne High beat Gregory Portland Friday afternoon, and then Champion played that night against New Braunfels, I believe, and lost that game. In between the games, there was a group of us kind of hung out at Chris Madrid's, ate some hamburgers, and watched football on Black Friday for a little bit. But I think the two teams, I think that's the best they have done combined. If you count the number of rounds and you add that up total, that may be the best both teams have done, if you combine the two seasons.
No debate. I mean, yeah, it's 13-2 and 9-4, so that's a lot of games. And we were very fortunate and looking for that to continue. And with the league and what we're going to talk about today, and that we're the most north school, we've got a good shot to continue that next year.
And football, historically, Boerne ISD's had some good teams. The 04 was a state finalist team. The 2019 team for champion was a state semifinalist team. But lately, the last few years, Boerne High has been at the regional finals 3 times, won it all 3 times, and been to the state finals 1 time. Champions kind of had a down year, but they've come back this year and done really good, and they're looking good for next year. So I think both coaches doing a great job, and the programs seem to be doing both pretty well.
We're very healthy. And, of course, the 5A Division II Boerne's league is tougher. His New Braunfels is going to be good. They beat the Chargers twice, and they gave the Greyhounds all they could handle in that scrimmage. We got better. But I think we can all agree New Braunfels is going to be very good. Alamo Heights has got a good program, and Liberty Hill, no matter how you mix it, they're going to be good. So it's just get in, and once you get in, you get to go south, and then you've got a good chance of playing one of your other schools in that district for the regional finals again.
That is Stan Leech joining us here on the Boerne Brew. I'm the host of today's show. My name is Kerry Barboza, and I'm the sports editor of the Boerne Star. I brought some printouts. I'm going to hand you one. We're going to just a list of teams that are in the new district. So let's talk about champion. A lot of traveling for the Chargers. They got Austin Anderson, Austin McCallum, Cedar Creek, Bastrop, which is Bastrop School. Champion, of course, Smithson Valley, Kyle Lehman, Lockhart, Manor, and Seguin. So 4 Austin area schools. A lot of traveling.
There's a lot of traveling, and that's what happens with the separated football district. Everybody has travel. You look, we'll talk about them later, but the Greyhounds, they have travel, and that's why there's a different football league than a basketball league. The basketball league is concentrated in volleyball on location, putting people close to each other. And football is doing the same thing, but when you separate, it's not gonna work out the same.
Yeah.
And we're excited about this league, and we really are. Yes, we have travel, but you're traveling in football all the time anyway. Austin Anderson, besides Smithson Valley, they won 10 games this past year. Kind of a neat, fun fact, Bo Holcomb is their defensive coordinator, and his dad, Hack Holcomb, was the head football coach at Boerne High. So that's my nugget. And then Austin McCallum is usually pretty solid also. Maynard is very athletic.
Now, I know Maynard's kind of east of Austin.
Very east.
I mean, that's the first time I've even heard of them being in a district. Because a lot of these schools, Seguin's been in off and on, Lockhart off and on, Lehman off and on. None of the Austin schools, but Manners, if you look at the map, Manners kind of way east of Austin. It's kind of off on its own.
It's out there.
Yeah.
And the whole league's out there. And then there's not an easy way. Anytime you have to say 35, wow, leave at noon. I do think the attendance with this league is going to be low because it is such a haul for these schools. It's not like people are in our range. So it'll be interesting on what our home attendance is, but we'll have plenty of seats for our crowd.
Yeah, let's look at, and that's District 13-5A, that's D1 like you mentioned, and 13-5A D2. Boerne High, Liberty Hill Legacy Ranch, which is the new high school in Liberty Hill. Liberty Hill, of course, the Panthers. New Braunfels, who dropped down from D1 to D2. New Braunfels has a new school, Long Creek, opened up. Alamo Heights, of course, and Veterans Memorial. So talking to someone telling me that's one of the toughest 5A districts in football in the state.
Well, it definitely is in D2, and especially in the region. The Veterans Memorial, I mean, they're good. They're athletic. And then, of course, the new schools, you would think that there would be a learning curve.
Yeah.
And there should be, but they will be very competitive. However, Liberty Hill, New Braunfels, that's going to be all you can handle. So there's 4 that will probably be favored, but don't ever count out Veterans Memorial, especially with Judson and the athletes that come out of that program.
Yeah, and Alamo Heights, Ron Rittiman's done a great job. Yeah, he took over, came from Johnson High School, has done a great job getting him in the playoffs. And he's only lost 1 district game in, I think, 5 years, and that was to you guys this year. So
that's true.
He's had a good run. And
we got him again.
Yeah, so, yeah. I don't know how long that district streak's going to last for them in this district, but do you think Liberty Hill opening a new high school, Legacy Ranch, do you think that's going to affect Liberty Hill across town because of what they do? That's going to maybe dilute their talent base for a little bit?
Well, it's got to. I mean, everything's math.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
And there's no way it's not going to a little bit. Smithson Valley's done a tremendous job, but they still have big numbers to pull from. But it will a little bit. I'd just say a little, not a lot. They'll still be solid, and because they still pull from so many, and that is a attractive place to live. It's a great place that athletes want to be a part of, have great facilities, and so both of them won't miss much.
Yeah, and then Long Creek, that's a new school in New Braunfels district, or that area. That's why New Braunfels came down from D1 to D2, because Long Creek's opening up, and they're already a 5A, so that's a lot of growth in that area, but I would think that same thing would apply as far as kind of diluting the talent base a little bit, maybe, but still, like you said, still going to be very good.
We'll be a little bit. Well, you just look at us as our own example. We all went to champion in the 08 football season, and then the 09 football season, Boerne was an outlaw schedule for 09 and 10, and then 11. We'll just use that as your example, that it took them a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it just does. And they were even 3A when 5A was largest. So it historically will affect, because it's all about math. That's why we have Division I and Division II, because the idea in football, a lot of times people go, why do they do it one way in football and not in all the other sports? And I'll tell you what the UIL has said, since they did this for football, is numbers matter in football. And because when you lose your ones, if you have a lot of numbers coming through the door, the odds are your number 2s are going to be better than your number 1s when you don't have as many people coming through the door. And historically, there's exceptions to every rule, but that is why they do that. And then with all the other sports, they're smaller in numbers. When you have basketball, if you got one or two players, it doesn't matter how many come through the door, you can still be pretty good. So that's why, whether people agree with that theory or not, that's their story and they're sticking to it. Yeah.
That is Stan Leech, Boerne ISD Athletic Director, joining us here on the Boerne Brew. I'm the host of today's show. My name's Kerry Barboza. We got Roland J. Ruiz sitting in, pushing all the right buttons. This past district, the 1 year in now, the 2 year one that's ending at the end of this school year, you had Wagner, Veterans Memorial, Smithson Valley, Alamo Heights, both Boerne schools, Kerrville, and this isn't the football district, but Kerrville, Piper, New Braunfels. Is that the best top to bottom district that Boerne schools have been in
a long time?
Yeah.
Apples and oranges, but
sure.
in a long time.
Well, I was going to say, you got Wagner, number one in the state in the girls basketball. Mm-hmm. Smithson Valley, number one in the state right now, girls football. Soccer. Yeah. Smithson Valley football, state champs. And then, of course, champion swim, girls 5A, state champs.
And water polo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting. And it doesn't end, though. Smithson Valley, cross country. We'll look at the Texas High School ADs Association Cup, and Boerne champion is tied with Aledo. And then you look in the UIL Lone Star Cup, champions number 4. But Boerne is in the top 25. And so both of us have done very well in this tough league. I can't wait to talk about our new league, though.
Do you ever think about what if Boerne had not opened a second school and what the teams could have done? I think there's some state championships that were probably left on the table there once they split. And if there'd have just been one school, you'd have been a big 6A. Do you ever think about it, or it's not even worth going down that road just because it's just hypothetical at this point?
Well, I think about it, and I'm thankful it didn't happen because we wouldn't have as many state championships as we do. When you get in that 6A, it's a whole different deal. And what happened, we're talking about things that we were talking about 20 years ago. We couldn't get our people to want to be, and the word was, be a Judson.
Right.
They believe that people move out here for community and to be able to do more than one thing. And so when we were trying to build, the first thing we rolled out was one big high school, and we just couldn't get. We beat both sides, didn't want any part of it, and so we have. It has been just a true blessing to have 2 high schools. Plus, we did it early and basically did it just because that's the only way we could pass a bond. And we might have won. I don't know what sport we'd have won in. Maybe some of the cross countries, but it'd have been tough.
Yeah.
And so, not that we did it completely for athletics.
Right.
I sure am glad we did.
I think of baseball. You would have had Douglas Hodo, Luke Boyers, Fjord, all in the same outfield.
Yeah,
that would have been one of the fastest outfields in the state.
That'd have been good,
yeah.
But you go over and look at those 6As. It's tough. But who knows? But I sure strongly believe we've won more state championships with the two
separate
than we would 6A with one.
Well, that is Stan Leech joining us here on the Boerne Brew. And, one thing, Stan, is one thing the UIL allows is appeals. It has to be a legitimate reason, but you can appeal to change out of your district. Generally, the UIL says no. I remember one year you had San Marcos in your district, and they took them out. I think it was a football one. But how many over the years have you heard of appeals that have been successful? Has there been many? Doesn't seem like there's been many.
Very few. I can't recall them without the sheet of paper in front of me, but very few. I mean, because especially now with all the data that you have, and you can run it through AI and all that, I can't see them. They do a great job. Ray Zapata and those guys, it's a thankless job. It's like being a referee. They do a tremendous job with what they do, and because they got to mix closeness, travel.
Right.
But also they can't just do that because they really, whether they say it or not, try to put some fairness to some that are, like Alamo Heights. I mean, let's face it, they would they're close. They should always be in SAISD because it's right around the corner.
Yeah, it's right down the road.
And so what happens is anytime they put Alamo Heights there, they go, oh, what is UIL thinking? Well, they're thinking that you're right down you can walk to the schools. And so
Alamo Heights, Alamo Stadium.
Come on.
Like
it's
2 miles down the road.
And so they don't do that. And then people go, well, you're right there. You're saying that you do things geographically. But that's not always the case. And that's a firm example, because if it was all about geography, they would always be in SAISD.
Yeah. Some schools have appeal, but it has to be for legitimate reasons. And generally, like it sounds like it doesn't happen much.
Well,
but
most of the time, people appeal because they don't like that they were in a tough league. And
you got to have more than that, though.
But you got to have more than that.
Yeah.
You have to have some type of travel.
Right.
And some, but it's a fun time. You know, it's something you remember. And some years you open up that packet and you go, oh, and I tell you what, 2 years ago, I did. I went, this is not good. This is bad. And sure enough, I was right. And I think this is good for all our programs. I'm very excited. I'm excited for Champion girls basketball, Boerne boys basketball.
Yeah, let's get into that. So football, they're separated before.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
All the other sports, basically basketball, like men's volleyball, baseball, they're in the district, and then they get separated once the playoffs start. They go, the two biggest enrollments go big school, the two smaller go small schools. So in the basketball, volleyball district, if you want to call them that, it's 26-5A. You have both Boerne schools, Boerne High, Boerne Champion, John Jay from Northside, Alamo Heights, Great Hearts, Monte Vista. We've seen them in soccer in the past. They were in Boerne's soccer district at one point. Harlandale, McCullum, and South San. So I don't remember South San ever being in your district.
Well, because they haven't.
No? Okay.
No, they haven't. And because they, most of the time, remember, they were one school district. They were 6A. And then they had West Campus and South San. And then they opened West Campus again. So they are a big 5A. And they historically have been real good in basketball and baseball. And you look at the travel, there's not much travel in this league. It is something that all of our teams should be in the Final Four.
It's all in San Antonio. I mean, basically.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it helps our travel budget because that football one, wow.
Yeah.
It's
Austin schools.
I mean, it's, well, and then you look at Liberty Hill. There's the closest for champion is Smithson Valley, and then Boerne, the closest is what?
New Braunfels.
New Braunfels.
Yeah,
Alamo
Heights, yeah.
So, but this are basketball, volleyball, baseball, softball. Now, what the UIL does, at first, they just tell you basketball and volleyball, but 90+% of the time, that will be your soccer league. That will be your baseball, softball league, and track league also.
Yeah, and it's a little different for swimming because they divide swimming into 8 regions. That's a whole different animal.
That's a whole different. Swimming and water polo, the 6A, it will. We know that it won't have any rhyme to what we have here, but that's the only exception. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that in this district, the basketball, volleyball, baseball district, that the Boerne High, Boerne Champion, I think, are going to be competing for district titles in just about every sport.
Yes, we should. And, Harlandale has had good basketball years.
Comp's not bad in sports.
The Ray Carroll days were good. Alamo Heights, of course, is going to be able to do anything. There'll be anything that we can do there. So the 3... Jay is good in different things, but it's a good league for all 8 of us. Great Hearts, Monte Vista, they're so selective in what they do. And it's a big jump to them because, remember, they're going from 3A to 5A. UIL has a new, different formula for those charter schools, and so that's why they were placed in our league.
Yeah, and they were, I thought, in your soccer district a couple years ago, but
they were.
Do I remember correctly? They just didn't even finish the season?
No, you're correct.
Yeah.
They didn't. So, and the sports that draw them, that will be a bye. And
I see.
Like a literal bye. And right now they're playing boys basketball, they're playing volleyball, and
smaller team sports.
They're good in swim.
Yeah, very good in swim.
Now they'll have to swim against the Chargers, so their
Alamo Heights.
Their degree of difficulty just got a lot tougher.
Yeah, that's true. That is Stan Leech here joining us on the Boerne Brew. He is the athletic director for Boerne ISD. We're talking about the athletic new districts announced by the UIL. I'm the host of today's show. My name is Kerry Barboza, and I'm the sports editor of the Boerne Star. And speaking of basketball, basically towards the end of the season, girls have a couple regular season games winding down. Looks like Boerne girls basketball is in. Champion boys sitting pretty good. They haven't quite clinched, but they're sitting pretty good. And we're also in the middle of soccer season, so a lot going on. And then we also have spring sports starting to get going.
Friday and Saturday, our regional swim meet. Champion girls will do very well. And what we're looking forward to them having a chance at repeating for the state championship, and that's in 2 weeks from this weekend.
Right, Austin.
Boys will do well, and then like last night, you and I are both at that champion New Braunfels game. Very impressed with champion boys, how well they are playing right now. I think the cold weather helped them. They needed a break, and they got it. I mean, they didn't have to come to practice for 4 days, and you could tell they got their legs back, and it's like a renewal. Of course, Coach McComb will do a great job of finishing out the season. Right now, one boys team, Boerne's 4-8, and Champions 8-4, and then champion girls are basically the same. I think 4-9 is Boerne boys, and Boerne girls are almost about like champion boys, but they've only lost 2 games. So we got 2 playoff teams for sure.
It looks like it. And soccer just kind of just getting going. They started district. Boerne High boys, Coach Strong, they're doing really well. To me, he's kind of like the Lou Holtz. He kind of never thinks they're going to be any good. Oh, we're not going to have a good team this year.
We call them sandbaggers.
Yeah.
That's what we call them, Gary. That's what we call them, and that's what he is.
And they're in first place right now.
Yeah, we're not going to be good. And
Lou Holtz.
Don't listen to Coach Strong. No, boy, he does a great job. But Coach Gold does too, and Coach Strong's, they score well, and that's tough in soccer to be consistent, putting the ball in the net. And then, Coach Shannon's doing a great job as Coach Zingelman. That's why I'm excited about this league. It's something that all our programs will have a chance to be successful and go to the playoffs.
Yeah, like I said, Boerne boys in first place, sitting pretty good. So
pretty impressive.
And of course, Michael Strong, he's 2-time state champions and almost had a third. So he's a pretty good coach.
He's done good, and
even though he sandbags.
Well, he did a good job with 4A.
Was at 4A, yes.
But he is his program has just continued in 5A to compete and do well.
So also got tennis got going, golf's. Softball, baseball, track meet this week at the stadium this week. So a lot going on, and we're kind of starting to run out of time here. But one thing I want to talk about real quick is, of course, tennis. Joey Cantu here 25 years. He left, became an athletic director in Pearsall, his hometown. And I saw him this morning. His daughter signed to play tennis at Texas Lutheran. So what can you say about Joey? He's 25 years here, one of the longest tenured. I think maybe only John Ecker is probably here longer as a coach.
He's the winner right now. Terry's been here 25 years.
Terry.
McCone's close, but let's just focus on Coach Cantu. Tremendous job. One of the best tennis coaches. It is hard to be a tennis coach at the same place for 25 years, and we've been constantly competitive. Played for 3 state championships. He's done a heck of a job, and I'm happy for him and Kristen. He gets to go back home, and Dr. Spohr, who was our principal, is the superintendent.
She's there. That was the connection.
And we all have them. Man, that's how the world works. It's a smart hire for her, and she's wonderful. And Joy will do well. He knows the lay of the land, and he'll be able to help Dr. Spohr, and Dr. Spohr will be able to help Coach Cantu, and very happy for both of them. He'll do well.
She divided the head, because it was the head coaching job, AD, and she divided them and told Coach Cantu, you just be the AD and you'll just hire a separate football coach. And I didn't know this, but I talked to him after it all happened, and he said, I always wanted to be an AD. I didn't know that about him, but apparently he wanted to be AD, but he didn't see a path from being a tennis coach to being an AD, because A lot of schools, the ADs, also the smaller schools especially, is the football coach. So he didn't see how that would happen, but they made it happen, made a way for him.
Well, because he's a good guy and he works hard and he's loyal, and good for them.
All right. Well, Coach, that's about going to wrap it up here on the Boerne Brew. I want to thank you for coming out on the show.
I love it. Thank y'all. Roland, Kerry, appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Coach, and we'll talk to you next time out there. Thanks for listening.